from Kerp and Twitch from Creaton. Other side, Cassidy in ban, a Jax ban as well, and there's Ziggs taken away. We know how dangerous Kerp is on Ziggs. He's performed brilliantly on that champion. Will Braum be the final ban here for Millennium, or is he gonna get through?
I sincerely hope not, and I would love to see the moustache in the LCS. It was used by Voidal in NIP and managed to rack up 2 wins. I think junglers are getting a bit of a freebie today, considering there's only really 3 top-level LCS junglers available. We need to see what happens. It is happening, potentially.
Kale taken away, which means Braum is available here. Who's going to pick it? Is anyone going to pick it even? What we know, though, is that Gambit will prioritize Lucian, as you said before, taking that for Genja here on their first pick. So, for Millennium, will they take anything different? We've got 2 support players here that both have played weird supports in the past. Let's not forget Jree, pretty much the only one playing Blitzcrank and Zillion, to name just a couple. Edward, he's been all over the place in the past couple of years with what he's brought in. Kennen in the support role, playing Gragas most recently in there as well. But we'll have to see how that one all works out. I think there's going to be higher priority picks in these early couple of stages. Oh no,
we got him!
Going to get locked in here for Millennium as their first choice, along with Lee Sin. Glad I didn't make the mustache bet today.
So, the heart of the Freljord, he has been locked in. This is the first game we're going to see him. I'm incredibly excited about the mechanics of playing Braum in lane. We'll get to the details later, but generally, he is primarily a defensive support with great knock-up potential. Yasuo is also available, so when you pair Braum with Yasuo, it is a scary combination. Consider that both Braum and Lee Sin could help get that last breath available, and we know Kerp likes to play assassins. Kerp has played Fizz in the past to great success. If he wants to get his hands on Yasuo, there's a massive amount of natural synergy, and if Shyvana's not locked in now by Gambit, you could even put Shyvana in the top lane and have a bajillion ways to activate Yasuo's ultimate. I'm a little excited by this, I think you can tell, and we need to see how the rest of the picks and bans plays out.
Well, let's keep it calm for now and see how that all goes down. What we do know for Gambit is that they've locked in Twisted Fate for Nick in the mid lane. We'll also see Diamond playing Evelyn this time around. So 2 out of the 3 jungle pool that we really have now on board have been taken in this game. And that Twisted Fate, and we'll see how Nick does moving around the map with that one after Kerp's brilliant Twisted Fate performance picked up the win for Millennium against the super hot crew yesterday. So what are Millennium going to go with here? They could pick the mid laner now. AD carry also, I mean, they've already got Lucian on the Gambit side, so no real rush to get that one in.
There's not a real rush, and I really think Kevin is showing a massive preference to this Irelia. He's been playing Irelia over many other champions. He's currently 3 for 3 on this particular champion. And it makes me wonder, what is Kerp going to play in this middle lane? Because you've got a lot of burst damage from Graves. You have dashes from both Lee Sin and Irelia, and Braum can actually jump into the middle of a fight as well. And you've got a lot of CC as well as damage from multiple sources on the Millennium side. But Gambit have got the makings of a pick composition. With Evelyn that can come in unseen, and Twisted Fate that's going to be able to surprise you very quickly with the Destiny, they may want to lock in champions that can aid that type of play, that can jump on somebody and kill them very quickly. I'm not believing what we're seeing right now.
No, Quinn, Malphite, probably not going to be the 2 champions that they end up locking in. These 2, however, could be real possibility. Thresh for Edward, maybe, and then Aatrox for Darien in that top lane. We've seen Darien play Aatrox before, and we went back to that point of it kind of fits his style. He gets a second chance of staying alive when he sometimes gets caught out of position, let's put it, as Aatrox will actually be locked in here then for the top lane for Darien. So Aatrox versus Irelia and the Thresh for Edward. We'll see if he can return to his glory days of the Thresh Prince.
Been a long time since he's been at that same level of dominance on Thresh, and Thresh is a champion that can do very well against Braum in the early stages of the game. Up until level 6, his ranged ability and the flay on-hit damage will do a lot to help keep Braum at a low HP. If Gambit are going to look for that 2v2 lane, I'm not sure if they want to. They may want to do a lane swap. And like we talked about, the aggressive assassin has been locked in for Kerp. I personally would have liked to have seen a Yasuo just because of the synergy in the Wombo combo, but Kerp has played and won with Fizz. It is also a champion that can destroy a Twisted Fate. If Kerp gets ahead early, he will insta-give Nick at every opportunity he has. What Millennium are going to be looking for, though, is finding picks, killing a member of Gambit, and then using a numbers advantage to win the rest of the team fight. The only reliable CC is coming from Braum and that Glacial Fissure. Once Gambit pile on, he's going to knock them up. And if Millennium don't have proper targeting with their champions, I think they could be in a lot of trouble because Irelia and Evelyn can run amok in those team fights.
And we saw the stats for Fizz so far. They split 1-for-1, both games, of course, from Kerp, where he had one great game and one game where he probably just wants to forget going 0-5 and not really having fun with that one. But guys, which comp do you think is going to win out? Tweet at LOL Esports with hashtag GMBWin or #MILWin, and we'll see if those picks have changed your vote. Got a feeling that you might just be voting because Braum's been picked up for Millennium.
I would be. The moustache definitely tickles my interest, so we need to see how effectively Jree can play this champion. It is patch 4.9, so his numbers have been tweaked since release. Damage on the Q and the tankiness from his W have been reduced, and we'll get to each of the abilities in-game. I really like to break down the specifics of the mechanics for those that haven't seen him, but we need to see them first in-game. So for our spectators, make sure we watch these duo lanes.
Yeah, I was going to spend a lot of time washing the Tash down in that bottom lane, or in the top lane, wherever he may be. But we are going to get into game, guys. It's Gambit taking on Millennium. And the first time here in the European LCS that we are going to be seeing Braum in action, picked up by Jree this time around. Gambit, of course, banned him yesterday, so we'll see if not banning him here today will be a little bit of a mistake for them or not.
So very quickly, Graves and Braum are going to give a lot of defensive statistics in terms of bonus armor and magic resist. Thanks to Braum's W, stand behind me. He's going to dash to an ally, and he's going to give them bonus armor and MR. And you combine that with Graves' passive of that True Grit. When Evelyn and Aatrox jump onto them in a team fight, they're going to be much tankier than your standard AD carry and support lane. And that is the best picture-in-picture we've ever had.
I was going to say, we've got a special Braum dance cam going on in the bottom left-hand corner there. Not sure we'll keep that up for the entire game, but we'll have to see how much time we'll be focusing on that duo of Millennium. One thing I do know, Creaton had a fantastic performance yesterday, and sadly for me, since I'm playing Jat in Fantasy this week, who has Creaton just from that one player, is pretty much destroying me up until now. So we'll see how that one goes. Gambit, in the meantime, have stacked Diamond and Edward. Are they going to go for a blind hook and catch themselves a Braum for breakfast?
It looks like they want to. There's not a lot of damage to back it up, though. Without Genja being nearby, it's not going to play in his favor. So Braum, he's already skilled his Winter's Bite. It's the Q. Long-range skill shot. It applies a slow to the targeted hits. And look for the passive. He's going to catch Genja with it. I'll bet you money. And if you manage to get all 4 of those procs from Braum's passive, you will stun a target, and anyone can activate them. So what I want to see is how effectively Millennium focus the stun down. Because at max rank, it'll be a 1.7 second stun, and we'll see if Millennium can focus the target and get the kills. It will help them. But immediately they're on the back foot, they've lost their blue buff.
Lost the blue buff, and we see here that we are going to be looking at that 2 versus 2 duo head up in the bottom lane with Creaton's Graves and Jree's Braum against the Lucian Thresh of Genja and Edward. Interested to see how that one all works out. Also interested to see how Darien plays this game. Now that it's solo lanes, he's going to go straight into the top lane.
Yeah, and he may be able to feed to provide dragons, as Diamond was so happy to point out yesterday in the interview. On this Aatrox, he's also going to have... He's actually got a very good champion that will help Gambit in team fights against this very high quasi-assassin build. Because Millennium want to be focusing down individual targets. And if they focus Aatrox down, he can just come back to life.
Not as many Braum fans as I first believed here. 54 to 46% still in favor of Gambit Gaming. So not much of a change really when it comes to what you guys at home are thinking this game is going to go like.
And note just how passive both Creaton and Jree are playing at this level 1. They do have a lane matchup that should theoretically lose in trades to Edward and Genja, because Genja's going to get those multi-shots off from his passive. Oh, Kottenx finds Diamond. They're going to trade some damage.
They're going to trade some damage might be the wrong word here. Diamond is going to hammer away at Kottenx. Red buff for both of them, and I tell you what, Kottenx needs to be a little bit careful. Kerp is coming around the corner. Kottenx needs to be careful how deep he goes on this one, though. And here we see it. Kerp going to go right in on towards Diamond. Twisted Fate is there. Gold card and wild cards come down, but Diamond falling low. He's got a flash. Lucian comes in, managed to secure the kill. Nick has flashed through. Kottenx following him. Kottenx going low. He will flash away. Kerp flashes back in, and And now they've caught Edward. It's a good play coming out, but I think the damage might be too much. No, he's made enough distance there to get away, and that will leave Millennium with 2 kills. Disastrous for Gambit.
Overconfidence on the side of Diamond. He didn't have the full support of the rest of his team. He gets caught out, and Millennium are able to land 2 very quick kills. More importantly, is one of them is in Kerp's back pocket. Because of the fact that he wants to be ahead and he needs to have items as quickly as possible. Oh, they've caught Jree.
And Flay gonna come in there, but I'm not sure they got enough damage to put him down, but still, damage is damage. A good trade there for Gambit in this bottom lane, and they could do with a couple of good trades at this point. This top lane, which has been fairly quiet so far, Darien actually ahead slightly on the CS at 28 to 22, and now Diamond coming across. Kottenx already there, and actually not quite going to spot Diamond out. Actually, that's probably a lie, 'cause he's just thrown the Q straight his way. Diamond just heading him off, so no real action to be had on this top side.
No, not this time around. It did look like Diamond was trying to find a way to get into that matchup, was unable to do so. So, double Doran's rings picked up for Kerp. This is going to give him a very nice power spike, in addition to having that flask. So he's got more sustain than Nick. But again, we need to see how quickly Kerp can start finding those kills and roaming around the map. What we have noticed is Creaton is falling very far behind on CS. He was left alone because Jree went to roam and help out in the jungle, did not pick up any assists. And the lane matchup does very badly against Threshers because of the fact that Braum is melee. So he's not going to have the ability to really punish Genja or Edward. Once Jree gets to level 6, he does have some kill potential with his ultimate, that Glacial Fissure. And Diamond is sniffing around mid.
Speaking of fissures, there is a stun going towards Kerp, but he actually dodges most of that damage and is actually going to put some back towards Diamond, who comes in. Lucian was waiting off to the side, and as you mentioned, Kerp, not a champion, not a player, not a champion even this time around with Fizz that you want to let get going. Currently 1-0-1 after those kills before. Creaton also, we heard the low health ping down in the bottom lane. He is running almost on empty at this point. Need to be very careful about how they handle this bottom lane matchup still.
Yeah, gotta be so careful. Creaton and Jree need to survive until 6 and get some assistance from Kottenx or from Kerp. Either of them can come down. Hell, Kevin could even teleport in. And if you combine, you know, any one of them plus the slow and the stun that Jree's going to offer with Braum, there is a definite amount of kill potential. I feel like Diamond is spending a lot of time trying to find ganks, but he's ahead. Jree's jumped in.
Oh, Jree has jumped in there. Diamond will show himself. Kottenx is there. Creaton's still pretty low, as we are going to see the hook come down. Edward falling low himself. Kottenx, though, didn't have the health to actually follow through and pick them up a kill. Meanwhile, Darien gonna lose his blood well. Not much health there to be regen, but Kevin doesn't want to follow through. He used a hell of a lot there, and actually we see the teleport from Kevin was interrupted.
Yeah, we do see that Kevin. I'm going to hazard a guess that he teleported back to lane and instantly went aggressive on Darien because he does have that sheen. So I think that was the way it played out. I do want to quickly go back to that Jree initiation. You notice he jumped to a minion. His stand behind me can be used to dash to minions as well. So get in range, land that Winter's Bite from the Q, and look for a stun. His big shield, the Unbreakable, will also mitigate the 100% of the damage from the first projectile that connects with it. That's excluding turret shots, which means, and then everything else, it's damage reduction, which means that Unbreakable can counter the culling very effectively, assuming Jree's in the right place at the right time.
Very interesting start to this one. Darien actually coming back into lane. Apparently he's been talking a lot to Genja before this game because he's come back with the triple Doran's Blade up against Kevin. Wants a bit of power now after Kevin TP'd back into lane with that sheen and went instantly aggressive on him. We heard in the video before the match that Kevin said, love playing against Darien. Doesn't matter whether he's ahead or behind, he's always aggressive, always going ham, and I think that Kevin trying to dish out a bit of his own medicine there.
One of the things that's interesting about Darien is it doesn't matter how many times he dies, he's almost always even on CS with his lane opponent. Whether or not it's ahead or behind league averages, which is what we talked about earlier, he does tend to farm well in his respective matchups, and he's doing it again now. He was under pressure from Kevin, he's returned with this instant power spike, and with 3 Dorans and his passive on the W, he's going to get a lot of HP back on auto attack, so we'll see if the sustain helps him out.
Genja also been quite aggressive down bottom. Again, a bit of damage coming in. See 73 to 52 CS, and that's allowed Genja to get a BF sword compared to the Vamp Scepter actually on the other side for Creaton, so a bit more sustaining there for Creaton, but raw power in favor of Genja. Probably means that Kottenx is going to have to spend some time around this bottom lane, and almost worked out for them a little bit earlier on.
So Jree's getting much closer to level 6. You'll notice Creaton has got access to his collateral damage. So this is the time for the teleports to come in, and Jree's actually started a fight maybe a little early.
Got a little bit far on this one, a lot of damage coming in. Twisted Fate ultimate is going to be popped, but where's he going? What's Nick going to do with this one? He's going nowhere. It gives them vision, at least I suppose, of where Kottenx was for that one, but no follow through. First Destiny of the game, going to go almost unused.
That is a very, very big swing for Millennium. It allows them to now make a play in this bottom lane with Kevin's teleport, which will be up soon, or with Kottenx, without fear of having Twisted Fate interrupt. So they need to be aware of it. Jree does have access to his Glacial Fish, and here comes Diamond!
Oh, this is bad news for them. Diamond coming in. There is the ultimate coming down from Jree, but he's finished off by Genja. A nice kill back here from Gambit. They do have Lucian moving around the back, but is Kottenx comfortable enough with this one? Do they think they can get anything? Is he just waiting for Fizz to move down? He was pinged out. No further action there.
So a lot of people talking about the power of Braum, and Braum means victories, and he's banned in scrims and ranked. If you play with a coordinated Thresh, ooh, that was very close. You can actually shut him down in lane. Genja and Edward have done a very good job of keeping him on the back foot. Look at Kerp, throws out the Chum the Waters, and that could have been a dead Nick.
Especially since Kottenx don't even know how he got there, went round to the water, thinking around the back of the race, came walking up from the opposite side of the map. Nick, though, staying safe for now on that one. Has fallen a bit behind in CS, and of course with his one death, and Kerp being 1-0-1 as well, is behind on items and everything, and that lane offers to him. Meanwhile, Kevin now coming back into lane with a little bit more, using his teleport. Is he going to go insta-aggressive? He is. Darien, however, this time he's able to just jump away, does have his Bloodwell passive available again, so he's back to somewhat safety.
Yeah, going to be able to have that margin for error, I think is the term. Jree gets hooked, but got no ultimate available, so finally playing a little more aggressively. He's had that Sightstone for a few minutes now, which is going to give him some HP, and the reason that's very important is the damage from his Winter's Bite and the Q actually stacks with a percentage of his HP, and because he gets bonus armor and magic resist, it makes his effective hit points much more effective. And we do see Kerp, he's looking too aggressive, but no ultimate yet.
No ultimate available for him means probably no kill. Just going to bully Nick a little bit out of that lane. His ultimate, by the way, Destiny, will be coming off cooldown here in just a short while. Meanwhile, Creaton and Jree got a brief respite down in bottom because both Genja and Edward did recall. However, that's not going to last too long. Genja's going to come back to lane with Bloodthirster done. We'll see if Creaton's actually got the gold. Doesn't quite have the gold actually just yet for a BF sword. So he's real behind when it comes to itemization there.
Yeah, 20 CS is effectively a kill at this stage in the game. And not only is Creaton behind, but Kottenx is falling a large amount of CS behind Diamond as well. Diamond is farming up an absolute storm on Evelyn. And if you consider the number of times he's been present in lanes, barring his over-aggressive start to the match, he's actually had a lot of pressure applied, and he's making Millennium at least consider and think about where he might be. So we do see Diamond roaming to the top lane. Kevin's got Flash and his ultimate. I think they're going to go from that now.
I think he's going to need it because we got Twisted Fate moving towards the top as well. There's the gold card. Kevin here in all kinds of trouble. Won't be able to take down Darien's passive, and that is another kill in the bag for Millennium. However, for Gambit. However, Millennium with that numbers advantage now on the bottom side of the map, going to be going in towards Dragon. However, Genja and Edward are still there.
Here comes Genja. Culling's up.
Collins up, but we see how effective Braum is at blocking that when they get the knock up onto Edward, but Jree is going to go down. Edward knocked up in the air by the fish. This will surely be a kill back for Millennium. It's Kerp that gets that one. Genja trying to get away. Here comes Darien. Creaton's going to fall. Kottenx as well. That's a double kill for Genja. Can they actually get Kerp here? Genja trying to lifesteal a little bit back, but the presence of Darien offering them a lot there. The Dragon didn't go down, and that means that Gambit come out so strong in that fight.
Very, very good fight for them. They end up trading 3 for 1 once all is told and done. Because Kevin died in the top lane, they gave up 2 more around the Dragon Pit. Genja is now 4-0-0. He was in a lane matchup that he was already winning thanks to the range advantage over Braum. And I just think very smart play. Millennium tried to rush Dragon down, but Kerp and Kottenx, they are looking for the objective. They weren't looking for the team fight. So once Jree had initiated that, the rest of the team weren't on the same page. Spent so much time trying to focus down Edward that with that Bloodthirster, the damage and the combat advantage that Genja had was just, it was too much to overcome, and it's allowed Gambit now the potential of this Dragon.
Genja continuing to show that he's maybe got what it takes to constantly carry them through as they manage to hook onto Jree. Follow through, doesn't get the knockup, but there's a lot of damage to go Jree's way. His shield blocking a lot of that, but now the TP coming down. Darien caught in no man's land. Genja gonna be locked up by Creaton and Jree and finished off. It's a kill for Braum, but look at Darien, continues to go heavy, but he's lost his passive, and he's gonna go down to Kevin. That's a double kill for Irelia, and now they keep going. The fish thrown out, Earth's gonna come through. Have they got the damage for Edwin as well? The slow from Kevin will lock that one up, and it's Creaton to get another. And despite Gambit's great fight before, we now see a 4-for-1 in Millennium's favor.
Millennium are back in the game. This Dragon is going to even up that gold by a very large amount. The killing spree bonus that Genja had accrued ends up going to Jree, which is not necessarily ideal, but they managed to get it on their side regardless. It's 1,000 gold that separates them, and that all stems from Gambit being overconfident, from not evaluating or thinking about the options. 4 members of Millennium were close by, and you know, Gambit may not have had full vision on the likes of Kottenx or Kerp until later on, but look how deep they chase, and then they're split. Genja goes down the lane, the rest of the team is split off to the left. Communication and teamwork there, not the strongest. And all props to Millennium. That's a great kick from Kottenx as well. I think Millennium just did a good job of focusing whoever was closest and managing to secure the kills.
That fight all happening without Kerp using his ultimate until these last very few moments to lock up and secure the kill onto Edward. Only Nick survives that fight, so really, really well played by Millennium. It's going to give Gambit a little bit of food for thought, I think, now, as to how they play the rest of these, or these next few minutes, certainly in this matchup. If we look at towers, it's 2-0 for Gambit, taking out that mid one earlier, thanks to Nick as a hot comes through, but there's no follow-up there from the rest of Gambit.
So nobody to keep up with him just yet. Just a quick update for those that are interested in Braum. Jree is actually maxing his Q first, and he's got 2 points into his E at this stage in time. So going for Winter's Bite and then Unbreakable. Of course, that big shield, it does scale with percentage damage reduction with the more points you put into it. Look how aggressive Jree's playing. Gold card in the mid lane. They're going for Nick.
Yeah, he's dead. Kerp actually going to get that one with the Ignite. Easy finisher for him. Can they get in on towards Genja? The knockup will come through thanks to Jree, but with Diamond now there, this could be a real problem. Edward steps forward, but they turn around, put all the focus onto Edward, and Kerp will get in and gets himself onto the rampage. Meanwhile, Kottenx and Kevin now coming through. They're going to go for Diamond. Slow it down, but have they got the damage? They do now. Kevin's there, and he gets the kill onto Genja. Diamond going to be headed up on the other side, and this is going to be an ace for Millennium.
Millennium just roam and find the targets they want. They jumped onto Nick just off camera, managed to blow him up, and as Gambit was scrambling to defend, the single target mobility that Millennium has, almost every single champion has some form of movement spell that they can move around. I mean, Kevin and Kottenx were focusing down Darien while the rest of the fight was happening in the mid lane. Millennium have just got such a great skirmish, you know, 2v2, 3v3 type of champions, and they're making full use of it because Gambit have been caught out, split up, and they're going down.
You see there once again the chasing power with Braum. He not only offers a lot, or much tash you could say, but also much CC to be added in. I'm sorry, I've been saving that one for a while. But really chasing down well after what was a bit of a ropey start for Jree down there. These last couple of fights really coming out big, blocking a lot of that damage that comes through. And in the end, it leaves Millennium now with close to a 2,000 gold lead.
I was really happy with how Jree positioned himself moving into the river. His shield blocked every single shot of the culling from Genja. And it's just a massive amount of damage reduction to really reduce the effectiveness of that champion. Unfortunately, Millennium out of position to defend their last outer turret, but they're ahead in gold. They've got that dragon from earlier on. They've got twice the number of kills of Gambit, and they still haven't secured a tower. So if and when Millennium do stop pushing the map, which is what really matters, that's when they're going to accelerate much further ahead. And that's a Lich Bane already completed on Kerp, so he can potentially drop towers quickly.
Oh, Twisted Fate's going to join in this one. Where is Kerp going to go? He's actually going to go deep for Genja. He gets the ultimate off, but I don't think he's got the damage to get through. He will fall here. The shutdown will fall onto Diamond.
So Diamond's going to get the bonus gold. I think Kerp with a little bit of an odd flash. I'm not sure if he hit the turret when he tried to chase Genja down. Regardless, he gets dropped. It looks like the rest of Millennium are getting some good damage on the mid turret, and I still think that's a trade they'll be fairly happy with. Pulled a lot of members from Gambit down. They know Destiny's not available, which means once Chum the Waters is up, they can go again, and Darien's the next target.
Darien is going to be in trouble here. Does have his passive available, but is that going to save him? They actually kick him out pretty much of the turret range. He will jump through, but he'll be chased on, and it's Kottenx that gets that one. Kevin helping out nicely, but this turret is going down. Jree had just come across. That won't really make any difference in things. Nicely done by Millennium. 13-7 up in kills now. 2,000 gold is the lead.
Yeah, and that all, again, reduce the threat of that Destiny, and then you can continue pushing elsewhere on the map. Kerp, I think, is going to be working towards a Zhonya's Hourglass at some point. Maybe a Death Cap is his next item with this blasting one. But once he does get that Hourglass, it's going to just allow him to run amok in team fights. Dash all the way in, dodge the gold card with his Playful Trickster or the Zhonya's Hourglass. And as Gambit are scrambling to find a target, you're going to have Irelia, Lucian, Graves, and Braum all dashing around in the team fight. So while it's important for Millennium to stick to the same target to kill them, it's also very difficult for Gambit to lock Millennium down. They've got single target CC, which is great, but there's 5 champions that can dash and dodge and dip and duck and dive, so it's going to be difficult for them.
They can lock anyone down. We do see turret actually fall in there, which brings Millennium back to 3-3. So all outer towers on the map are now down. The question is who's going to start making the moves for these inner turrets. Dragon, of course, will be coming up in just over a minute's time. You have to feel that that's probably going to be the next port of call for both of these teams.
Yeah, and Gambit need to be careful. If they want to initiate, they need to do it fast, and they need to catch Millennium off guard. If Gambit give Millennium the chance to initiate first by diving onto the right target or using that Fizz ultimate, then Millennium can just insta-give somebody and instantly have the Dragon be a much safer position. So it does look like that Dragon has respawned, and we will be seeing whether or not Gambit can actually initiate quickly enough, because teleport is available from Kevin, Destiny's being used from Nick. He's going top lane, Dragon for Millennium.
Diamond trying to save that one, but that one will help out. Meanwhile, Kevin actually caught by both Nick and Darien. He flashes, but there's 2 flashes coming in, gets stunned up, and that will surely be the finisher. It is Darien that actually gets the shutdown onto Kevin. Well, look at this. Millennium hunting for a couple of kills down bottom. They don't get it, but they did get that Dragon. As I said before, there's the hook onto Kottenx. Actually, Edward going to get slowed down. That's a good play, but now with Creaton coming in, this could be real dangerous. A good block of the Cologne. Edward locked up and finished off. He put the box down. Kottenx just stands in the middle and says, I'll just wait it out.
That was the perfect example of how powerful Braum's passive of concussive blows is. He landed onto Edward, Edward flashed away, and the last few auto attacks from Creaton stunned him. Because he was stunned, the rest of the team could pick that kill up. So they end up trading 1 kill for 1, Edward for Kevin. Kevin burns 1 flash for both Nick and Darien's flash, as well as Nick's Destiny and Exhaust. So even though Kevin went down and gave up a kill and an assist, he gets more summoner spells and an ultimate out of the deal, which means Millennium come out very far ahead in that trade as long as they can take advantage of that situation. So smart play. Millennium are continuing to accelerate their control, and they're just in a good place. Kerp actually finished a Void Staff as his second item, not amassing huge amounts of ability power yet, but he'll get there, I'm sure. 514 is doing a good job.
And already able to do big damage either way. See that Braum very tanky at this point, actually picking up a Negatron cloak there. On the other side, Edward actually got the Chains vest, got a Giant's belt as well, so see where he's heading with that towards the Randuins by the looks of things. Meanwhile, Millennium already starting to clear out and have a lot of pink wards. Look at the pink wards on the map here for Millennium. One thing is, of course, the complete vision control and the ability to sweep out those wards, but also to keep an eye on the sneaky Evelyn, who could be up in their jungle, getting wards of his own down.
Been doing a very good job of dealing with Diamond's Evelyn. Even with the amount of presence and attempted ganks from Diamond, Millennium didn't lose complete control of the game. And then they punished Gambit when Gambit were over-aggressive. So Millennium have hit some very big power spikes in items. Randuins and Triforce for Kevin, like you talked about. Oh, Darien, let's see if we can get away.
Well, that is a lot of damage coming his way. However, look at the lifesteal back here for Darien. Ignite is ticking away, and that will be a bit of a problem for him. Does get the slow. No, it doesn't. Kerp will dash straight onto him. But now has he got the damage to finish off? There is the Blade of the Ruin King being used by Darien, but Kerp's still going to be able to chase. His cooldowns will be coming up here shortly. Darien is going to do a lot of damage as Diamond gets caught on the top side of the map. There's a Cully coming through, and again we see the Braum blocking out most, if not all, of that damage.
Very, very well played by Jree. Unfortunate for Kerp to not find the kill onto Darien, but I really like the fact that Kerp is willing to flash over those dashes. Oh, they've caught Genja.
They caught Genja, what happened? Yeah, they do. They've got the damage. Oh, summon a heal coming out, and there is the Destiny Pox, which sends Millennium running, sends them scattering on this top side of the map, and somehow Genja gets away with that one. The use of his summoner heal. Did have flash available as well, should he really be called into that one, but stayed alive. Pretty much, I think the Destiny was the scary part for Millennium there.
The mobility on the side of Millennium is just so difficult for Gambit to deal with. They've got a lot of movement themselves and dashes. There's a lot of champions that can move very quickly, but Millennium in that situation, you've seen how instantly they thwarted the power of Destiny. Nick couldn't even get in range to auto-attack because of how quickly Kottenx was moving to the rest of his team. So there's a lot of drama happening. Darien forced to burn his ultimate, his passive rather, because of the fact that Kerp jumped on him. But that is a scary sign when Darien is arguably meant to be one of the tankiest members. He hasn't even finished his Randuin's Omen yet. Oh, round two.
Round two. Without a passive, and boom, there's the fish in your face, ultimate miss completely, and now Darien is maybe gonna still go down. I always somehow underestimate that damage if you can get a second combo off there from Kerp. Despite missing the ultimate, picked up his 6th kill.
I love the little shrug from Kerp's shoulders, like, meh, didn't need the fish. I got this, bro. But I mean, he was 5-1-4 going into it, so much damage to deal with, and Darien has not itemized any MR. He's got Ninja Tabai and a Warden's Mail. So there's no magic resist to thwart Kerp. So unfortunate for Darien, but he's still doing fairly well in the CS regards. And, if you look down the items, 2 Randuin's Omens for Millennium. So not only are they mobile, they can deny the movement speed from their opponents with those actives. And with all the penetration that Kerp and Creaton have built up, their burst damage combos will be more effective at this stage in the game, and they're making it work for them.
I've got this yo. I don't think it's something that will ever come out of Kerp's mouth, to be honest, but whatever. He manages to get that kill, and he's building himself up towards that Zhonya's Hourglass, which will give him a little bit more safety. Also have the Zhonya's already done over the other side for Nick, along with his Athenes, and his second needlessly large rod is going to be picked up on that front. We see the difference between the AD carries as well. Creaton, Bloodthirst at Last Whisper, and then into attack speed. On the other side, Genja picking up the Static Shiv as his second item after the Bloodthirst.
Yeah, very important for Creaton to go for that Last Whisper because of how important Graves' burst damage is. He needs to get buckshot and collateral damage to melt through Gambit's HP. And when he combines that with the assassination and the single target focus that Lee Sin and Irelia have, it allows them to instantly remove people from the team fight. It's how Millennium will want to continue playing this game. Focus single targets down with their champions who do very well at shutting them down. And with Dragon coming up very, very soon, it looks like Millennium are playing the baiting game. Look for a Glacial Fissure from Jree. I think he may want to start this off.
Well, Dragon has now come into play. Let's see. Q from Kottenx will start proceedings off. Diamond and the rest of Gambit. Not sure how much they want to try and fight for this one. In fact, it looks like they're going to try and make a play on the mid lane here. Dragon does go Millennium's way, the 3rd of the game that they pick up, and I'm not sure that Gambit are fast enough to really do anything about this. In fact, Millennium may even be looking to chase.
What I'd love to see from Millennium is Captain Boots on one of their team members, maybe even Kerp, who's going to be on the front line. If Millennium had been able to run down Gambit, they could have started a fight. Millennium now have better positioning on the inner turret, and with the zone control and the threat that Kerp's ultimate and Braum's ultimate will offer, it should give Millennium some time on this tower. Unfortunately, they don't have any minions to back them up, and it looks like they're playing it a little safe.
Kevin tanked a couple of hits and I think was like, come on guys, hit the turret and tanking this one up, but there was no real follow-up. A little bit of danger maybe came from the fact that they got no real vision on the blue side of Gambit's jungle. Speaking of that blue side, Nick will get himself the buff once again. So as teams back off, we're about to hit the halfway point. Half an hour point in this game. We'll see if it becomes a halfway point. Who knows? 15-8, Millennium leading kills. A solid 4,000 gold lead. And it's 3-3 in towers. But that, we just seen you on your screen there, the danger man, Kerp, 6-1-4 with Fizz.
So Millennium have got a relatively unsafe wave clear. You know, the range on Graves is very short. Irelia's ultimate has a fairly lengthy cooldown. So if Gambit ever get themselves into a position where they can siege up against Millennium, the power of Twisted Fate in that situation can be very good. What it also means is Millennium have a difficult time sieging. So in order for Millennium to take these inner turrets, they are forced to do the same. They have the same problems to deal with that Fnatic had yesterday. They need to get vision control, they need to surprise people, or they need to find picks.
Oh, they get the slowdown onto Edward, but no real follow-up there. Darien was playing the risky game of clearing the wards at the back of the Baron pit. Did take the Lantern out to safety, but a close call. Millennium looking for a almost free kill there if they'd have been able to lock up one of them. However, they have full presence around that Baron area. We see using those sweeping lenses, 4 of them that Millennium currently have. Only Creaton, in fact, doesn't have a sweeping lens right now. And Millennium know that they've got a stronghold on that area. However, there's two wards still for Gambit just outside of the Baron pit itself. So I think Millennium not got as much control as they'd maybe like to believe.
No, very, very important, and they're not even going to notice that ward just outside the pit either. Now, Millennium and Gambit have got a lot of damage on both of their sides, so a Baron bait could be very important, and so unfortunate for Millennium. They don't know that Gambit knows they're not going for Baron. They're trying to bait it out, and Gambit aren't falling for it.
Oh, you say that.
Oof.
Don't
make me eat my words. Don't make me eat my words.
Good thing is...
keeping vision. He's playing a human ward.
Ah, there we go. Scan coming down, and Millennium saying, nope, need to move away because Genja's actually pushed up that mid lane. Meanwhile, Millennium now come out of the brush and kind of just run around in circles a little bit there. And like, what are we doing? Are we pushing? Are we going back here? What are we doing?
Gambit are too scared to siege because they're behind, and they're afraid if they get caught from the sidelines by Fizz or by Irelia, they're going to lose members and lose the fight. Millennium don't have the tools to siege, so they can't sit underneath the tower because Twisted Fate's wave clear is very high, and they run the risk of being flanked by Evelyn or Aatrox. So in order for either of these teams to actually get an advantage, it needs a misplay from their opponents, or it needs Millennium actually tower diving or forcing Gambit's hand. Millennium tried to do it at Baron. They just missed some crucial vision, and I think we may see the Dragon/Baron dance to determine who's going to have the next leg up in this game.
So, you know, one put around the corner will be spotted going down from Millennium's side, so they know exactly where they've got to scan to clear that one out. Diamond also having a bit of run around, seeing what he can spot out, and we'll see Kerp and Kottenx moving down from the red buff area. That red buff just going over to Kottenx, and look at that Gambit saying, no, we don't want a piece of this one, just going to back straight away from it.
So Gambit are still keeping up mostly as far as the gold is concerned, considering that Millennium have had the Dragon control and considering they've got 7 kills and a whole bunch of assists under their belt. Their CS is still good. Genja in particular has got way more CS than Creaton. Almost something happening, but really just tentative. So for Gambit, they just need to be very, very wary. If they do start a fight, it has to be Diamond or Darien on that front line, and they can't afford to let the burst damage of Graves and Fizz hit the squishies of Gambit. If that happens, that's an instant team fight victory for Millennium.
Here we go then. Push on towards that turret in the bottom lane. Inner tower going to take a lot of damage, and I don't think they can hold this one. That's a nice move from Millennium. Moving 4 men to the bottom lane. Irelia was just inside of the jungle, and that will be the 4th tower of the game for Millennium. The first inner turret to go down on this map. Very important there. That may just open the floodgates for Millennium to work a bit more magic on the others. However, Gambit pushing out here towards Baron.
Floodgates, I think, is a little overzealous there, Joe. I think it'll open...
Spring a leak.
It'll spring a leak in Gambit's defensive dam. I think that's a better way to look at it. And as long as Nick is still standing, the power to wave clear is there. Also, Nick can actually respond with Destiny if he needs to. And I think it's quite smart that Nick didn't waste the ultimate for that inner turret on the bottom lane, because that's not a game-changing objective. Gambit already behind. They need to be careful. And Look at the patience from Millennium. They had 3 members there that could have jumped onto Diamond, but they opted against it. They don't want to waste their ultimates or waste their initiation when their objectives like Dragon or Baron on the table, and this should be completely uncontested for Gambit.
Yeah, no one going to come around this one. That will be, as you said, a freebie for Millennium. Will compound their gold lead, moving up towards 6,000. See the numbers, 4 out of 4. That is pretty epic control so far for Millennium. And if you look back to yesterday's win for Gambit, it was all about their Dragon control that was able to keep them in the game and eventually turn the tides in their favor. So that's something they're lacking this time around. But as you mentioned, Millennium being very, very passive, very safe about how they handle this game. No risks.
They can't afford to, because their comp has no wave clear. So safe wave clear. So when Millennium do actually lose a team fight, it's so much more difficult for them to defend towers. And because Gambit are behind, they're not seeing. So we've just got the stalemate situation that we've already touched on. And I think for Gambit, they've done a good job of keeping vision up in the Baron pit. But Nick on Twisted Fate has been far too passive for my liking. They've had opportunities where Nick could have looked for ganks, could have looked for, you know, the very first Destiny he used ended up being thwarted as a no-go just because Jree and Creaton could back away quickly enough. And if you contrast that to Kerp yesterday, he was tower diving with that Twisted Fate. He would go under the towers and focus down Mr. Rawls. Anyways, Millennium, the first Brave move. They started with Baron. Vision is in their favor. Looks like he's going to peel this one away. Finally going to get that last ward as well.
Curious. Gambit moving towards it, but not really in a position there where Millennium could have, I think, got any kind of opportunity. This, though, could be that opportunity. If they see Genja down on the bottom side of the map, gives them an instant 5 versus 4 scenario.
Not if, when, because it does look like Genja's going to shove that lane out. Gambit, I think, are doing a fairly good job, because what they can do is they can feign pushing for the inner turret. It looks like they're going to commit for the time being because they haven't peeled away, and this should be Baron. For Millennium and Gambit have just given this up. They're not contesting, they're not going for inner turret. I have no idea what the decision making is, because they've just given that up. That's a mistake.
Not a good call, and Darien's going to die here as well. Getting caught out, Fish knocks him up in the air. Will, of course, have his passive pop, but that'll be followed straight up from, it's Kerp that gets that kill, and now they're going to keep chasing here. It's Diamond, the next target. A lot of damage coming his way. There's the dive in from Kottenx. They kick Nick out. He uses the last seconds on his, that'll buy him some time, but Creaton able to finish that off, gets himself the killing spree. Not only do they give up the Baron, they lose 2 men straight after it as well. For almost nothing.
No, for nothing. There was nothing to gain other than a bunch of CS on Genja. He immediately shown himself. The rest of Gambit did not commit to a strategic push in the mid lane, and they got completely out-positioned around Baron. This should be an inhibitor turret as well. There's so much damage. Kevin's gone in.
Kevin's gone in, and they're going to focus Diamond, and that's the burst we were talking about earlier on, and it's been so prevalent here for Millennium. They're going to take the first inhibit. There's 40 seconds on Diamond, 20 on Nick, 10 on Darien. A simple push to the top lane, and indeed, that's the one outside of the base that is left standing. It means that Gambit, after this little Millennium push, are probably only going to have their base left to work with.
And wow, Millennium aren't even going to face tank the turret, so going to push the minion wave right up to it. They've got so much tanky stats. This is just playing it super, super safe. And Millennium punish Gambit for poor decision.
No, Darien. See Hog coming in. The ultimate of Kerp is still available. It's actually Kottenx and Jree that were keeping them moved and zoned away from that inner turret. In the end, looks like Millennium, as we've been seeing time and time again so far this match, that safety is the name of the game. No mistakes. Don't mess anything up with a lead this big, and they're going to go home, spend all the cash that they've earned after picking up that Baron and the kills. Just
a few big items being completed. Lucian grabbed himself some more defensive stats in spec as Carl Graves, grabbed himself an Infinity Edge. Aurelia's picked up a Zephyr. We've got Locket of the Iron Solari as well as a Ruby Sightstone for Jree. So it's just, the item difference is nearly insurmountable. And when Millennium can focus down any member of Gambit, they don't even need to initiate on the backline. They don't even need to initiate the squishy targets, because they can get rid of Darien and then basically rush down whoever's left. You've seen how quickly they melted, was it Diamond under the tower? You know, all 5 members just piled on, landed on top of him and squashed him under their combined weight.
So Let's see now. Millennium actually moving towards his bottom lane. Super Minions will start to pressure Gambit's middle lane or their Nexus turrets eventually as they work their way through. Kerp has cleared out bottom and the rest of the team moving a little bit deeper through that Gambit jungle to intercept the next wave of minions that's coming out of the base. And
it's so weird to contrast Gambit from yesterday, who had strategic play, who rotated around the map against Alliance and really did a good job of controlling the Dragon Pits and controlling the tempo of their pushes, to just give up a Baron because of a side lane CS for Genja. That's reminiscent of problems that we were seeing even last split, where Genja would be on the side lanes and it would cost important objectives in the late game. It's something that they'll need to go back and review. Anyways, Super Minions making it very close to that middle lane. Inhibitor steps, and you know what, Millennium could dive. If Kerp gets bored, he could just throw in that Chum the Waters and they can look to finish anyone. There's no passive for Darien either.
Kevin, maybe the one to start things off. Kerp actually going to dive straight in there, and it's Darien that they focus on first. He will be absolutely destroyed. Nick down to half HP. Actually, Jree going to be hooked under the tower, and he will flash out of that one. Millennium taking a decent amount of damage. That Baron will help with the regen, and it's 50 seconds until Darien actually comes back in, and the mid lane is being pushed all the way through now. The Super Minions are onto the Nexus turrets, and that means that Millennium are going to get a second in him.
They're going to get this one. There's no one from Gambit that can hold them off. The question is, do Millennium fall back and play it safe, or do they want to contest more objectives? They do have the numbers advantage for another 30 seconds. Dragon is up though, and I think it looks like playing it safe. Safety is the name of the game here. 8 towers down, 2 inhibitors down, and everywhere Millennium go, kills are sure to follow.
And they're over a 10,000 gold lead here on Millennium, and they're going back with a decent amount of gold to spend across the board. We see Quicksilver Sash coming out. There's all kinds of different things being picked up now for Millennium. Banshee's Veil was complete for Creaton as well. Right, looks of it, they're just going to be gearing up until this next Baron comes into play, where, you know, if Gambit gave that last one up so free, there's no real way that they can contest for this next one.
No, there's no way they can contest for it anymore. They needed to have, well, they needed to have not done that a few minutes ago. And Millennium don't even need the Baron, because they've got such a big advantage, and their initiation power is so much stronger and scarier than Gambit's. They're just going to brute force their way in. I think smart play from Millennium to wait from Creaton. There were only 4 members on the in here. And in order for Gambit to do anything, they need Diamond and Darien to get multi-man knockups and ultimates, and it's not going to work. Take a look at the burst.
Kerp going in on towards Genja, uses the Zonya's. Kottenx coming around the side as well. Nick trying to keep him away from that. Kottenx may go down, but they've killed off one. They've managed to take down Edwin. Diamond going to be ping-ponged around the team as he's kicked back by Kottenx. Darien may be getting in there. No, he's going to be blown up and forced to back away. Nick also at half health. They seem to have repelled Millennium for now by killing the jungler, but Millennium got the inhib on the way out.
1 for 1. Millennium's carries are still up. There's no more disengage from Edward, and there was no box available in that fight. Gambit are doing okay at holding off these sieges, but it's quite clear that Millennium are just throwing themselves at their opponents. They're looking for the objectives, taking advantage of the big lead that they've built up. Unfortunately giving up, you know, 1 or 2 odd kills here or there, but map control regained. Maybe it does look like they want another Baron. Super Minions still in the bottom lane and that middle lane. It's going to be easily secured. And there's not a lot Gambit can do, I'm afraid. Their opportunity to contain and control Millennium has actually passed.
40 seconds until that Baron comes up, and it would take, I think you're right there, a monumental mistake from Millennium at this point to lose on this 10,000 gold lead that they've managed to build themselves up. And look at this, Kerp waiting inside the death brush, and pretty much whoever comes towards that one, whether it's 1v1 or not, Kerp is probably going to win out on that battle. As I said before, QSS is available to him should he end up getting a little bit locked up. And there we see it. The Baron about to spawn in. Millennium already sat there and waiting. They're going to take this one down. But Gambit are actually going to try and come across, but honestly, they're going to be too slow, number one. There's Destiny actually used. Not going to make a difference whatsoever. Millennium get the second Baron of the game.
Too little, too late. Millennium going to set their sights on the top lane, get a big minion wave to work with, and Darien's doing a decent enough job shoving out the Super Minions in the bottom lane, which will buy a tiny amount of time for Gambit to make use of. But again, Millennium have tower dived before, they're going to tower dive again. if Gambit are not grouped up together as a 5-man defensive unit, then Millennium will just punish that. Millennium will jump in. You know what? Even if there are 5 members of Gambit, I still think Millennium will want to dive in.
Yeah, I don't think they're too afraid at this point. Kevin got the tankiness, got the damage in there as well. It'll be a real threat as the Q gonna land on towards Genja. Kottenx couldn't quite get behind him. Will tank up a couple of turret hits, but that regen will just bring him straight back to full HP here by the time that next wave starts to come through. And that won't be too much of a problem for Millennium. Here they go then, moving forward. Diamond is going to move in there and try to do some damage. Didn't actually use his ultimate for quite a while on that one. Gives him the shield, but not too much pushed in the way of Millennium.
No, ultimate is now not available for Diamond, so if he does get caught or go in, he's going to be much less. Now, super minions are going to be bashing away, or rather, siege minions in the bottom lane in him. And Millennium are just playing this game super patiently. They may have caught Darien.
Yeah, Genja's actually gone away from this one, and there's the burst. 2 of them at least gonna fall from this. Darien will leap away, and now Nick, the next focus. Look at that damage from Kerp. He will actually get shut down by Genja, who came back in. But that is the 3rd and final inhibitor gonna go down. The bottom inhibitor has been done for them pretty much here with those minions, and that will go down as well. So all 3 inhibs down. This is surely Millennium gonna win the game. They push through. Darien gets knocked out. There's 4 men left alive for Millennium, although Kottenx is very, very low. Nick and Genja, the only 2 left to maybe hold on to this one, but look at those inhib turrets. Sorry, the Nexus turrets, and they do dive onto Genja in the end. Nick gonna be the next target. The ace for Millennium as the Nexus turrets go down. The Nexus itself will, of course, follow, and Millennium pick up a very impressive win over Gambit Gaming.
They go 2-0 on the week, and just such exciting play. That was the definition of a pick comp. Single target dashes and movement and mobility, and just punishing over and over and over. Any single time Gambit showed any moments of weakness, Millennium just punished it. It was a very exciting game to watch, but that Baron, that Baron should not have been so easy for Millennium.
And it's not the first time that we've seen Gambit make these questionable positioning decisions where one person who's not Darien, who has a teleport, goes to clear out the bottom wave or just to get the CS down there. We've seen just a couple of weeks ago Genja doing wraiths and getting caught out, which led to an enemy Baron. They really need to fix that. They can't afford to not have their AD carry there for a fight. Oh, I mean, there wasn't even a fight, was there? Because they were just nowhere near it.
At 35 minutes, when you